In this video, I'm going to walk you through the straight line theory and then all of the systems that support this so you can take this and deploy this into your online coaching business. Now, if we haven't met before, my name is Josh Bowers and I've been in the online coaching space since December of 2019. I've made a little bit over $1.5 million in cash collected over the last couple of years across two different offers. My first one was called the Bikini Body Project. This was an all-women's transformation program, scaled that to 100 active clients at its peak with no team supporting it. Shut that business down in around December of 2022, and then in July of 2023, I started Freedom Coach, which is now helping other online fitness coaches scale online using a combination of conversion content and hyper-targeted ads. Now, the purpose of these videos is to show you all the things that have worked, the things that haven't worked, and what I'm currently doing in my business to scale it. Now, this topic today is one of those things that have worked for me, stopped working because I stopped doing it right, and then I fixed it again. So this is the straight line theory, and we're going to run through the three different stages that you need to look at within your business, and then those systems that are actually going to support it. So when we look at the straight line theory, it's super important that we basically maintain what's called a straight line all the way through from what we call your messaging to your content to your offer, so people can actually buy this offer from you. Now, to give you some examples of what that actually looks like and what it shouldn't look like is if you're, let's say, trying to target women, like what I was in your coaching program, all of your messaging is based around, let's say, women, right? You know, all of their problems, desires, blah, 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 which we'll get into in a moment. But let's say your target person is women. But then in your content, all of the content appears to be very like male specific content. So you're like posting videos about chest workouts and six-pack abs and how to get jacked and stuff like that. All the content that you're putting up there is about men and for men. And then let's say that your offer is let's say it's a women's coaching program, but it's for women 40 plus. Now the problem when you have all of these pieces like this, structured like this, is that it's going to be a confusing pathway for a prospect to walk on to actually eventually buy your program. They're going to get confused along the way, and most of the time there's going to be a break in the line because of that confusing messaging, because of that confusing content and that confusing offer. So in an ideal world, it's extremely important to actually have a straight line the whole way through. So let's roll with the women's example. Women, and then the program is actually for women between whatever age that you're targeting. So when it's consistent the whole way, and this is pretty obvious, but a lot of coaches make this mistake, it's really important to have that straight line the whole way through, right? This is an obvious thing. Know who you're talking to, create content about that, and then have an offer that actually solves that. But so many coaches get this wrong, and I actually, about 10 months ago now, 12 months ago now, had this issue in my business where I had this big crazy wonky line through there and it was all over the place, and it was no wonder that during that time my lead flow just went to nothing, like it went to zero basically. So let's go through some of the actual supporting systems behind this so you can take this, narrow in on it, and make sure that you maintain a straight line the whole way through. So the first thing that we need to look at here is going to be the niche. Some of this is very obvious. A lot of people go, oh, I know what my niche is. I know that I have to have a niche, but they don't have clarity on this. They don't have like a one-page document that details really specifically who that person is. Not just the demographics of like age and location, but also the psychographics as well. And what that means is that you need to really dig deep into the actual problems that that person is facing. You can't just say, I help busy men, or I work with women. That's like just step one. We need to take that all the way through to step 10. So you have to get really clear on the surface level problems that the person is facing, but then also the really deep rooted problems as well. The next thing you need clarity on is what that person actually wants, the desires. It's very easy to figure this out because this is going to be the goal. But like I just said, some people will nod their head at this and be like, oh yeah, this is just common sense and common knowledge. You'd be surprised. It's not. A lot of people think that they know, or they just know in their head, but again, they don't have this written out, and that's why they get stuck. The final thing here is then getting the positioning and then the branding right. So if you don't have clarity on who you're actually trying to attract in your business, or like who you want to actually work with, Nothing else matters. This is the foundation of your business. We then need to know every single problem that that person is facing, and the problems are the things that are essentially stopping them getting to their desires or their goals. The next thing is your positioning, right? It's important that you have some sort of unique angle. There needs to be something about you that is different from everybody else. Just like the brand, if you just look like another fitness coach on the feed, then that's how you're going to be treated. So the positioning and the branding somewhat mold in together, because in one way, shape, or another, they are technically the same thing. But if you don't have some uniqueness to yourself, if you're not really trying to exploit whatever angle could be unique about you, you are going to blend in. And straight away, right at the beginning of your line, there's going to be a break because there's nothing really that special about you. Next thing is then content. There's plenty to go through here. Top of funnel is our first stage with content. And if you know anything about funnels, we've got top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. Top of funnel, the types of content that you want to be posting is going to be unaware content and problem-aware content. Now, this isn't just any piece of unaware content or any piece of problem-aware content. It's the content that is coming from understanding this stuff here. Because when you understand all of this, you now have clarity on what your overall messaging is going to be. So when it comes to creating an unaware piece of content, let's say that you're working in my old market, which is women building a bikini body. They want to build up their glutes, they want to get a tight waist, they want to put a bit of muscle in their upper body, they want to, get a bit stronger. Well, some problems that she may not know that she has is that she's not focusing on progressive overload in her lifts, and that's why her glutes aren't growing. So this is a piece of content that makes them go, I didn't realize that. And when you give someone that light bulb, they then go, well, what else do you have to say? What else do you know? So they start to lean in. So this type of content is great for generating awareness because 60% of your market has no idea that they're facing some problems in their life. So when they're scrolling on the feed and this content comes up, basically holding a mirror up to these problems that they're facing, you're basically driving in a lot of traffic into your funnel, and you're talking to a very large segment of the market. Problem-aware content is now essentially talking to those people who are aware of the fact that they have an issue, but they're not really sure what to do about it. So here, you're introducing different things such as progressive overload and what that is and why they need to focus on it. It's just carrying on from obviously the unaware topic. Now, this problem-aware content is not taking up a huge percentage of the market. However, it's still really important to run in the top of funnel because it's getting people into your ecosystem, because then once you start to move them down through into middle of funnel, this is where your problem-aware content is going to come in again. So we do have that in there twice. That's not a mistake. I've got problem-aware here. And then the second one is going to be information gathering mode. So at this stage here in information gathering mode, this is where you're now talking about your own unique mechanism, your own unique methods, your specific ways of doing things with coaching. You're also showing client proof, client results, your results. In this situation here as well, you're really just trying to show to people that you have a unique way of doing things. You're teaching them how to do it, but this is where you can now bring people in to be like, well, this is why I think this is the best way to do things, and this is the best exercise for this, and this is why I think you should have this mindset that I have. And you're basically bringing people really close to you now, so they're getting to know you and obviously building more trust. As we then move down through the funnel, you've got BOFU, which is bottom of funnel. The types of content that you're going to be posting here is CTAs, and then any sort of proof that you can be showing. This is your results, this is client results, this is case studies, this is screenshots, it's interviews, testimonials, all of that sort of stuff. Proof here is what's going to be the thing that will drive people into your inbox to actually sign up with you in your coaching program. As we then move down through here, our next thing that we have to focus on is going to be Instagram stories. This is seriously underrated by a lot of people, but where people go wrong and where their line breaks is they get on their stories and they just post about everything and anything. But when you know your messaging, you know who you're talking to, the problems they face, what they actually want, all of that becomes the messaging that you're just constantly showing a light on in your stories. So every day you're talking about problems and how to solve them. You're shifting beliefs. You're showing proof. You're putting up CTAs. Stories is like your most nurtured segment of your market because they're watching your stuff frequently. So this is a fantastic place to be selling. It's a fantastic place to be educating. It's a fantastic place to be showcasing proof. But the big part that stories do a really good job of is building your own brand. People get to know, like, and trust you through this because you're showing up in these stories day after day after day, and people are really getting to know who you are because you're probably not the first coach on their feed where they've actually taken an interest into some of your stuff. Next thing is going to be having a VSL within your overall content strategy. So VSL is a video sales letter, and generally it's going to be some sort of video where you're walking people through your system, your unique way of doing things, client proof, and then sometimes giving them a call to action at the end to work with you in your coaching program. A VSL though is essentially just like this nurturing incubator, like client microwave. If you can do a really good job with your tofu, mofu, bofu content, you can have your stories going up. That's like feeding the overall ecosystem. But then your VSL video could be like 10 to 20 minutes long. That's going to do so much more selling than any other piece of content through here. So having a really good VSL will really support the straight line through your business, so long as you're factoring in the person that you're trying to actually market to, the actual problems, the desires, getting the messaging right, and all that sort of stuff is going to help you stand out a hell of a lot more. Final thing here is then long form content. Depending upon what stage you're at within your business, I don't think this is 100% necessary for like the beginner kind of coach, but if you're doing like anywhere from sort of like 5 to 10 grand a month or above, this is really important for building massive amounts of trust. We're in a trust recession right now. Nobody trusts no one. Like there's just zero trust because a lot of people have been burned because they've been overpromised and underdelivered to. There's a gazillion coaches. We then have like AI obviously taking over things. So it just drives up skepticism and it decreases trust, whereas your long form content and your VSL, these are just driving up the amount of hours of consumption with you specifically. Google has this rule where it's the 7-11-4 rule, where it's 7 hours of consumption across 11 different touch points on 4 different platforms or 4 different mediums. So 7 hours. Imagine how many reels that is for someone to watch that are like 1 minute reels. Hundreds, right? But if you've got YouTube videos going out, they're anywhere from like 10 to 30 minutes long. Someone just has to binge a couple of those and then all of a sudden, poof, they're sold because they've already been seeing your tofu, mofu, bofu content, your stories, your VSL. Now they're binging on YouTube. It's only a matter of time before they jump on a call with you. And that call isn't even a discovery call, it's an enrollment call. Final piece of the straight line is then your offer. So this is a very straightforward part of this, but essentially your offer has to have 2 core components. The first one is that it needs to be a no-brainer. Like it needs to actually make sense. A lot of coaches just have really random offers, or they just don't even have any like structure or thought process behind it. They just call it coaching. And it's just like, oh yeah, I just help people get in shape and sign up to weekly coaching or monthly coaching. But there's like zero container, there's zero timeline, there's zero specifics around it. It's going to flop. So you could do a really good job with your messaging and your content could be on point. But if you're not really focused on having like a no-brainer offer, then it's just going to fall flat on its face. The other thing that also needs to be factored into this is it just needs to solve the core problem. A lot of coaches just sell coaching. They think that they will just help anyone with, a goal, but that's not the case at all. The program has to have some sexiness to it, that no-brainer element. But the other part is that it has to solve the core problem. And what is the core problem? Well, you will know that from being back here. This is why it's important to have that straight line the whole way through. You need to know the messaging. You need to have good content, and then your offer has to make sense. So you maintain that straight line the whole way through, because the straight line at the whole way through equals dollars at the end. So my friend, that's it for this video. I hope you got some value. Start implementing this into your business, and I'll see you inside of the next one.